Hello and welcome to the fourth session on the ELT course. And in this session, we will learn about how to motivate learners and what a teacher should do to have the learners who learn deeply and develop as 21st century learners. So we'll talk about what motivation is. We'll briefly look at the series of motivation, spheres, and motivation pyramid. And finally, as in previous videos, we'll look at the schema that I have developed for you so that we could structure everything about motivation and make this knowledge helpful to us as teachers. So what is motivation? Motivation is everything. Motivation, as the sign here says, is found when purpose is discovered. It means that if you have no purpose, you probably won't be motivated. However, we know that many students come to us, especially young kids, without being not properly motivated. So we don't look for purpose with them. We don't set the goals. We motivate them with our attitude, with the situation of success, with their good performance, and with our support. So motivation is not the goal only. And now we'll talk about this 4 important series of motivation that I have used and that I believe are extremely important for English language teachers. Series number 1 is about extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. If your student is motivated extrinsically, meaning if somebody else tells them to learn the language, they are usually driven by their parents and by such rewards as grades. You should understand that this learning won't be very deep. It will still be a surface learning because there is no inner motivation for it. So our goal as teachers is to bring our students to the level of intrinsic motivation when they are driven by new knowledge, by their curiosity, by problem solving, by challenge, and also by recognition and belonging. Another important theory for teaching English is the ARCS model, which was developed by John Keller. And the ARCS, this acronym, stands for attention, you attract learners' attention, relevance, you use only relevant materials, confidence, you structure the learning so that your learners were sure in their success and they get satisfaction from the learning if they achieve some level of purposes or goals. Very close to this model is the model of, it is called the Motivation Island. And it was created by Mark Hancock, who said that it's important to motivate our learners in subject, so then in their aspirations, in the classroom, and in learning itself. And finally, we can talk about different models of motivation endlessly. But as everything else and everything that we discussed before, it has to be structured into a very clear model then that we as teachers would like to apply to our teaching. So you probably all need, you probably all know Maslow's theory about the hierarchy of needs, and it was extended by Clayton Aldifer, who argued that we can divide all these needs into existence needs, relatedness needs, because humans are social animals, and the growth needs, like self-fulfillment needs. So let's start. Now we'll try to combine all these four theories, extrinsic and intrinsic, arcs model, spheres of motivation, and hierarchy of needs, into what is applicable to us as English teachers, especially in interclass. Let's start. So, of course, the first level is physiological. Physiologically, people need food, shelter, water, and if we apply this idea to our classroom, we'll see that they will acquire a language much better if they are not hot, not cold, not thirsty, not hungry, and if the environment is comfortable. Now stop and think of the previous lesson, and you will see that physiological level is a part of affective filter. So if your students are good, it means that their affective filter is very, very low. Emotional level, like we have physiological level, and next level is emotional. We all are humans, we are collective species, and we exist in societies. Our brains have mirror neurons, and we tend to mirror, we tend to duplicate the attitude of people around us. So if the teacher is enthusiastic, if the teacher is inspired, and he or she inspires their learners, and if we want to fuel our learners' enthusiasm, we need to use positive language, we need to use pleasant tone, we need to watch our voice pitch and body language. So enthusiasm and positive attitude are our next step. And you see that altogether they make this affective filter. And so your learners feel good and your learners act good. So their affective filter lowers and lowers. Safety and security, it is still the affective filter, but also it is very close to what we do as learners. We talk a lot, and it is quite a face-threatening activity. Students, and especially if they are adolescents, if they are teenagers, especially when they are adults, they are afraid of making mistakes because they are afraid of appearing foolish in front of their peers. They risk to stick their heads out, and they don't want any kind of humiliation. And this is the third step in safety and security: cooperation, atmosphere of success and situations of success, and mindful error correction, fairness. We'll keep talking about it when we talk about building skills and building knowledge. But security and safety is not only in physical environment. It is also in how you deal with your students. So, next step, we're already ready to come to what we teach. Physiological level, positive attitude, safety and security in your attitude. And now we go to interest in material, to the structure of material. We need to hook our learners and to keep their interest. So how we can do it? Of course, we can do it through the lesson flow and through the zone of proximal development, through the comprehensible input, and we need to make their interest quite stable and to keep it at a certain level so that our students came from surface learning to deep learning, which is very important. For this, we have their interest, we tell them a lot, it is quite interesting, but you remember that if we want to move from surface to deep learning, we need to pay attention to learner autonomy. What our learners do at the lesson? Do we talk more than our learners? Who decides what they do? And that is where learner autonomy appears. That is how much autonomy we give to our learners by how we teach them. Our learners may choose what to do. They may choose how much time they will need, who work with, and what techniques to use. All these three factors, autonomy by choice, by time, by team, and by technique, they distinguish how much your learners are involved into what they are doing. And it also makes the progress from surface learning to deep learning. So we're close to the end of this pyramid. Our learners are safe, we have their interest, then as soon as we got their interest, we start involving them into what they are doing by developing learner autonomy. And finally, we go to the highest level that we want our learners to achieve. We go or we come to the can-do statements and SMART goals. Can-do statements, they develop responsibility for learning when students assess themselves at the end of a class or at the end of a unit. They just tell what they can do, and that is how they understand how much they have achieved. However, if your students can't distinguish what they can do, you can offer them the can-do scheme so that they either ticked or said, no, I can't do it. When your students have worked a lot with can-do statements, they can go higher and they can start putting their own goals. The goals, which are SMART goals, they have to be realistic, measurable, and we'll talk about goal setting when we talk about lesson planning. So here is our schema. It shows all learning series. It also shows the series of motivation, and it shows what we need to achieve as teachers. We actually need to bring our learners from safety to growth level. Like when they are at the safety level, they often are motivated extrinsically. But as soon as they go to the interest level, as soon as they are involved in what you are teaching, and they are involved into what they are doing, motivation becomes intrinsic. And very soon they will reach the highest level of learning, which is measured by their own responsibility. And our goal as teachers is to develop this level of responsibility in our learners by teaching them to be autonomous, by checking what they can do with can-do statements, and by setting smart goals together with them. So this is another table which I created a bit earlier, and it shows what we can do with our learners. Yeah? So we set goals, we learn the subject, we think of what we need to teach them. And here again, ZPD, comprehensible input, scaffolding, not learning by heart, and so on. And then at the classroom, we create comfortable environment, we attract learners' attention, we do everything to develop learners' autonomy, and we give constructive and positive feedback. This is just a look at the series of motivation from a different angle, but actually all series, they tell us the same. We need to develop our learners as 21st century learners. We need to bring them from surface learning to deep learning, and that is how they'll be able to develop their skills. Thank you for your attention, and see you next class.